Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome to this free online workshop, The Darkest of Nights, Birth, the Brightest of Dawns. I'm just going to have a moment here where I just check that we are connected and live on YouTube. So bear with just one moment here. Let's see how long it takes to go live. There we go. Okay. I'm just going to open the chat. Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome to this free workshop. It is such an honor to bring this through to you. If you are new to me on my channel, just take a moment to hit the subscribe button and do let me know throughout this workshop how you find it. Let me know if something resonates. Let me know if something comes up for you. This workshop is titled The Darkest of Nights, Birth, the Brightest of Dawns. And this particular workshop, the wonderful Jackie White and myself, we were actually going to run this as a paid event near the end of October. And we were having a discussion, and we just felt that it was something that needed to come through right now, especially with that last super full moon that we've had, the super full moon the other day, going into eclipse season right now. So we have the first eclipse, which is on the 14th of October, and then another one on the 28th. So we have a solar eclipse and lunar eclipse, and eclipses are portals, they're gateways, they are jump shifts, really. They are like these invisible portals that we get to go through, whether we realize it or not. So things come up, and things can come through those as well that we may need to release. Now, if you found yourself here, and hello, everyone. I'm just saying hello to those in the comments. Welcome, welcome. If you found yourself here on this workshop today, or if you're on the replay, as of course this is going to stay up, you can watch it back however often you like. It's quite an interesting one. So I'm going to read the blurb. I'm going to read what you saw on my website if you've booked through there, and what the intention is for this space today, this hour that we're together. So we wrote for this workshop, when we're feeling happy, when we're feeling loved, life is really simple, it's blissful, it's easy, right? It's easy when we're feeling all that flow. But what about when we're faced with challenge, with conflict, with controversy? I forgot how to say that word then for a moment. What's the quickest and easiest way back to that alignment, back to that source energy within, back to that joy? Because really that's what life is meant to be. It's meant to be joyful. It's meant to be easy and fun and light and just delicious. It is. It's meant to be absolutely delicious. And what this workshop is intended to bring is clarity. Clarity so that you can know yourself better than ever before. It is my intention that every one of you watching this, whenever you're watching this, whatever part you see of this workshop, that it helps bring through a deeper knowing of who you are, that there is some golden nuggets in here for you to receive and just go, oh, that's going to help me understand what I'm going through and how to move through it with ease and grace. We're going to delve into the illusions of our ego a little bit and how they propagate, how they spiral. I will be checking in with the comments periodically, so feel welcome to ask questions in the comments. And I will be double checking just to see if there's any questions that arise. And if you are watching this on replay, of course, I'm not going to be answering your questions as they come up, because if it's the replay, it means that we've already done this live, and I will be checking back every few days or so. Okay. But in this workshop, we're going to go into the crucial aspect, the importance of shadow alchemy, and why it takes a lot of brevity and courage, really, to go into our shadows and what that purpose is. We're going to go into why dark nights of the soul occur, what they're there for, and how to get ahead of them. We're going to practice some very simple techniques that will help you move through any triggered moments, any life's challenges. And we are going to bring that lightness to our day-to-day. We're going to find the easiest way for you to remember the truth of who you are, your true nature, Like the title of the workshop says, the darkest of nights birth the brightest of dawns. And why is that? Well, very simply, when we go through those dark nights, the storms that are arriving within and around us energetically, what is actually occurring is this shaking of our energy, a quaking of our energy, the light which is dropping in from the neutrinos and the beautiful solar flares and all the energies coming in. It is illuminating space, creating space. But then the things that have held within us, the emotions, the core beliefs, the core wounds stored in our body, then start to get more energy. As light or heat or anything like that goes into something, the higher the energy, the more something moves. And that movement is a good thing because it helps release and clear space. And the clearer we are within ourselves, within our DNA, within our body, within our whole system, our energy field, in various layers of our energy field, the clearer we are, the more light we can house. It's like having that sunrise within you. And that starts to anchor as a base vibration. Once the emotion clears, the vibration awakens. It illuminates and it heightens. Oh, Jackie, you're here. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. So let us get started. Let us get started. Let us jump straight into this workshop. And feel welcome to share if you wish. But I know for me personally, the past few months have been really quite fascinating. They've been fascinating because there has been great things coming up emotionally, right? We all have been dealing with these high emotions, these various illusions arising. Now, me and a dear friend, the year before last, I think it was maybe even just last year, we did a course called From Illusion to Love. And in that course, we shared very much about how if whatever you're experiencing does not feel like it is love, if it does not excite you and awaken you, if it doesn't feel just juicy and yummy, then it really is a false truth. And in this human incarnation, we came here to experience what it is to embody and to become, and then to unlearn and to master energies. And part of the mastering of energies means that we have to have challenge and obstacle in order to be able to work around it and move through it and resolve it, essentially. It's very satiating for the soul. It's part of the soul's growth every time we incarnate here. Every time we incarnate here, every individual, we come here to explore what it is to expand our knowing, our truth. That source energy within us goes, I'm going to explore and create, and I'm going to intermingle with other humans and other beings and have all these experiences. And if it was only meant to be good, if it was only meant to be easy, we wouldn't actually grow. Because it's only as deep as the roots go into the soil, into the earth, into the under world, gives us the strength to go higher and higher. So if all of us that are reaching up high and we haven't got the roots to go down deep, we find that the tree will fall because we are that tree of life. Equal roots to equal branches, leaves and flowers and fruits. To be in a human form is naturally to bring resistance in, because that is what we are. We are light slowed down. We feel physical, but it is light slowed down. If you've been watching the weekly videos that go out on this YouTube channel, you'll have heard some of the star beings and the ascended ones talk of how emotions and experiences harden within the body. And what happens when they harden within the body, they store within the organs and the fascia, they store within the DNA. And that becomes the memory. If it's practiced over and over, it becomes memory. And those memories store within, and they kind of house within us, within our body when we are very young. The environment that we chose, the parents, the family, the schooling, the country, all these things add to what our environment was going to be, and then what collective energies that we were going to absorb as children, that were going to become part of our, essentially our DNA, forming up the cellular memory, and therefore setting us on a trajectory, a growth spurt. Because those challenges and those blocks, those are the things which help us direct our energy. They create our personality. Those challenges that we have create our personality. And when we hear statements like that, it kind of makes us wonder, well, who am I really? For if it's the challenges that I've experienced that have created my personality. For example, if you feel like there is a pattern of being hushed or being shushed, then we find that focusing on the throat and speaking truth might be something that you are driven to do. And so we find ourselves taking up hobbies or taking up pursuits, endeavors, even careers, where we get to express from the throat, having that base wound as our nourishment, essentially, to direct us off in a certain way. And this is how our personalities start to form. This is how our life patterns start to form. And whatever the core wounds are when we are younger, whatever our structure was when we were younger, these create all the patterns of relationships and experiences that we have through time and time again, because it's created a polarized charge, a dualistic charge within our very being. And that is what propagates out and spirals out and becomes our experiences. So especially right now, if you're watching this in real time, just have a little think back and feel back to the things that you've experienced in the past few months. Is there a pattern? Is there a pattern to what you've experienced, especially if it's been a little challenging? Is there a pattern that you've experienced that you've perhaps experienced with different people, different places, different spaces before? Likely, yes. It's just each time it occurs, each time we experience something, it brings a deeper awareness to ourselves. We get to self-observe in a different way. But when something starts to become a pattern, we start to question it. And that's a good thing, because this is part of our human journey. We are born, we create, we absorb the surroundings. We then go into the world, and some would call this falling asleep. We fall asleep in the world, subject to the collective streams and the pools of consciousness around, navigating us, navigating the sacred temple that we are, the sacred vessel that we are. Our cups start to get filled by collective energies. And then we grow and we get older and older. And as we become teenagers, we enter our first initiation, right? We're electrical beings before we're biochemical. So what that means is before we have the hormones that move through us and the emotions, which are chemically based, we're electromagnetic, which means that the mental, the mind, the beliefs are sparking and activating the emotions and the chemicals and the hormones within. And so many of us look simply just to the emotion to try and fix or remedy it after the fact, instead of going to the actual programming, which we have. So as we go through our teenage years and our hormones start to shift and change, what is happening is we enter our first initiation, where we're really opening and clearing a veil of illusion that we've had placed upon us by ourselves. That might be triggering to hear, but by ourselves. And that first veil wants to release and come away. And then from that point in time, From that point in time, we start to experience these core wounds expressing as experiences which are sometimes challenging, but then often from that challenge, what happens, if you reflect back, if you tune in, what happens after you've gone through a period of challenge or strife? You accelerate, don't you? You wake up, you accelerate, you move forward and create space and alignment and clarity, and new relationships perhaps start to blossom and bloom, and deeper connection to self resumes. So let us just look here at a couple of things that will really help whenever we feel any challenge or any emotion start to arise. We've all heard of the term to be triggered, right? To be triggered. Is someone triggered? I've triggered this person. You never trigger anyone. Don't worry. We never trigger anyone. It's our own mirror reflecting. That is what we do. We reflect and we are reflected too. Everyone is a reflection of you, right? Including me on the screen. So however you receive this is a reflection of you in some way. But every being in our experience is a reflection of ourselves. But what happens when we get triggered? What happens when something becomes a little more chronic as well? Because that is what a dark night is, right? When the trigger is becoming chronic, when something is really wanting to release. Now, let me just connect those dots there. When we're getting triggered, when something is rising up, when we're feeling the emotion and we start to become aware that something is up, we're becoming more observational of self, which means that that energy is ready to come home to love. That energy is ready to come home to love. We did a free workshop a few months ago called Healing from Rejection. And we spoke more of that in there and how those particular shadows are formed and the inner triangulation. I'll try to link that video at the end of this one, so it's easy for you to connect to it if you want to watch that one too, to go deeper into that. But this workshop isn't about how the shadows are created. This is about what happens when they arise, when the triggers arise. They're arising because they're ready to release. They're arising and they're being chronic. So if you have chronic triggers coming up again and again and again, the same one, it's powerful, it's causing a lot of emotion. It's because your higher self is saying it's time to release. It's ready to go. It's ready to return to love. But what does releasing look like? It doesn't mean cutting the cords and pushing it away. We can't push anything away without getting the equal push back. So what can we do? The only remedy is to bring it into the heart, to open the heart space, to bring it all back to love. Now, I want to mention here a very simple technique, which is something which the beautiful Jackie, if you are still on here, the beautiful Jackie White teaches. And a few of you will have heard of this for sure. And it's a Hawaiian prayer. It's an ancient Hawaiian prayer. It's called Ho'oponopono. So whenever we are feeling that trigger, one of the things that we can do, and we're just going to jump straight in here, is because we're going to go through a few different techniques. But one of the things that you can do here is speak to the energy and see it instead of yourself. Instead of seeing whatever is arising, whether it's emotion or thought, instead of seeing that as yourself, see it as an energy simply passing through. It's not here to stay. It's like you're a train station and there's a train passing through. But Ho'oponopono is 4 phrases. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And you can feel in your body, whenever you're feeling something trigger, or whenever you're feeling something out of alignment, that could be physically, if your body is physically showing you like a pain in your knee or pain in the back or the neck, or anything even more so. To actually bring your hands, which are extensions of your heart, to bring your hands to that part of your body, and to deepen your breath, and to speak those words that we just shared. whilst holding that part of your body. Now, if it's an emotional trigger, this may be holding your heart, this may be holding your stomach, your solar plexus, this may be holding your navel, or even your womb or your sacral. But let us, for this purpose of this exercise, and I invite you now to bring your hands to your heart. And this is simply going to be very brief, and I'll share how to go deeper into Ho'oponopono just afterwards, after we've done this. But bring your hands to your heart and just take a nice deep breath in. Breathing in through the nose and out through your mouth. Just start to let your body relax. Consciously invite your body to relax, thanking it for holding all your energy in this sacred space. And as you're breathing in and out, you can start to say, either in your mind or out loud, and say it with meaning, say it with tenderness. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. You can do this when an emotion is arising or if your body is feeling sore. But just do this, just for a little while. Say it a few times with grace and softness. I'm sorry. You're apologizing to the energy for whatever the energy is feeling that is not feeling love. You're apologizing for bringing it in, for creating it, helping create it, because we create everything in our reality. The first stage of really healing and heightening our vibration is to take accountability for all things in our experience, the good and the challenging. So I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Speaking really to yourself, to the energy within yourself, because there is a part of you, an energy within you that has condemned self, whether we realize it consciously or not. So we say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. We say thank you, for it is done. It is done. Thank you. An appreciation which opens the heart. And I love you. When we say I love you, we're saying it's that energy. And for all who follow any of the laws of the universe, such as the law of attraction, repulsion, what we love or what we focus on, we will attract. And we want love to be the focus. Whatever we love will come to us with ease and with grace. So to say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, over and over again, just allow yourself to speak to yourself with your hands on your heart here and just feel if there is a shift in energy. Let me know in the comments. Now, this is just a very simple and quick introduction to Ho'oponopono. And I am just going to say and take this moment here to say it is an incredibly profound practice and study. And Ho'oponopono has in many ways saved my life. This one time I was driving and I was Ho'oponoponoing, and it created such clarity in my channel that my guides, my team of light, told me to stop the car. I remember this one time, it was very profound. My team told me in this moment of clarity to put the brakes on the car and stop for no reason. And it was because out of nowhere flew another car going straight by, which would have collided. So Ho'oponopono can have very miraculous effects, but it is really an invitation for happiness. So I'm going to take this moment to give a big shout out to my lovely friend Jackie, who regularly has a very affordable course about happiness and inner joy, and it's based around Ho'oponopono, and it has just started. So it's a 6-week course, and I will make sure that the link is in the description box if it calls to you, because it just clears everything back to 0 point if you do want to go deeper and learn more. But that is the first technique that we are going to share here, is bringing the awareness through the hands to the heart, or parts of the body, especially if the body is feeling out of alignment, or if you're feeling an emotion and you're in a mental state where you're able just to stop and breathe and actually tenderly and with love say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Notice the shift. What do you feel? What do you observe? But what if you are triggered a little bit more so? What if your fight or flight has been activated? What next? And if you are still doing this practice, by the way, you feel very welcome to stop whenever you wish to just, to come back to this call, or you can pause the video and carry on Ho'oponoponoing if you like. But what if your trigger response is really activated? Have you ever heard of the fight or flight response? Well, we have 4 categories really in that. There's the fight and the flight and the fawn and the freeze, right? And we respond differently to various stimuli. And that could be different people and different experiences and different environments. But in this world, we get triggers arise. And it's very normal, it's very human. We must normalize it, really. Normalize emotional alchemy. The emotions that we feel are meant to alchemize anyway. That's what they do. That's what the job is of emotion. Emotion either tells you, if you're feeling really elated and really joyful, emotion will tell you that you are in alignment with your heart and your higher self. And if you're feeling anything other, anything heavy, anything even from boredom down, your body is telling you that there is a belief within that contradicts your higher self. And if the belief is strong enough and it goes against your heart's truth enough, so if it's been practiced enough, usually these are beliefs around self-worth and value and self-love and all those things, then the bigger the gap between what our body believes, what we've taught it, and what our actual truth is, that divine inheritance of divine love and unconditional compassion and grace, the bigger our belief that contradicts that, the bigger the emotion and the more chronic it can become. So then what happens, we have one of the trigger responses come up. But how aware are we to notice? How aware are we to notice when there are triggers arising? How aware are we? So let's have a look. And how do you respond? How do you respond? And you'll likely find that you'll respond differently to different scenarios and different people in different situations, depending on what they mean to you, depending on what your soul is wanting you to alchemize and realign with. For once again, really, that's what all of the challenges that we face are. They are helping bring more of us home than ever before, So what if you go into fight mode? In fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, fight mode. So fight mode is when we start to notice ourselves or something triggers us. Can you notice? Do you start to blame or bully or attack? When someone says something and we get triggered, do we realize it if we go, that wasn't me, that was you, or that was her, or that was him? Do we start to use words that are derogative and bully a little? What about aggression? Slamming our hands down on the desk, slamming the door, raising our voice, Sometimes there's even a narcissistic response. And that's challenging for many of us to hear, because really everything that is experienced in this world is present within all of us. It just depends which mouth we feed. But if we have that fight mode active, then that could also occur. I didn't do that. Or we start to gaslight a little. without realizing. So that's the fight trigger response. What's after fight? Fight, flight, flight. What does flight look like? Do you observe yourself doing this at all? Where you avoid? Oh, I don't have time to talk about this right now. Don't have time. Can't talk about this right now. Can't look at that right now. Do you isolate, self-isolate a little? I'm not going to turn up for that. I can't do it. Too much energy. Or keep you busy. I'm too busy to do that. I've got too much work on creating tasks and jobs without looking at something. And these are all, it does take a level of self-observation to notice if we're doing these. But in speaking them out in this space right here, I'm inviting all of us to reflect in. And as with all the videos that I put out there, especially the ones where we're talking about topics like this is a remembrance and a teaching for me too. Right? There's no one above another. We're all students of love on this planet, reminding one another what it is to return to the heart. So the flight, or we avoid, or don't have the time, or we're too busy, or just forget, or don't turn up. I remember this one time where I had a doctor's appointment. This was a long time ago. I had an appointment that I needed to go to, and my flight response was active. My flight response was active. I didn't even realize it. And it was one of those where I just couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't want to wake up and get out of bed. I didn't want to make the trip. It was a long trip to take on public transport, and the weather was really cold. I was living in Canada. And I missed my appointment. And so you see, even like these trigger responses, there was nothing specifically there to trigger it. But when you're chronically triggered, there's a chronic trigger already in place, subconsciously moving through. And I remember I felt anxiety. I didn't want to, I didn't want to leave my apartment. I didn't want to go out and go. I felt anxiety to do that. And I missed the thing, and I just kind of made up an excuse, like I was busy. I couldn't find the time. I couldn't do it. I remember when my fight response has been active, I, recognize that. And I'm just offering these examples as well, because we are all human and these occur to all of us. But this is something that actually all of us experience, is the blame. Because there's always, whenever there is a trigger, there is always a victim response within us. And the victim does tend to blame the other. This person is this, or this person did this. So these responses do come up in everyday life. It's just, are we brave enough to observe? Now we've done fight, we've done flight. Let's look at freezing and fawning. So fawning, when you fawn, you're trying to appease and people please, right? You're trying to correct things. What do you need? What do you need? Someone's sharing something, and that sharing perhaps is triggering for you. So what do you need? Let me fix it. Rather than just holding the space, we take it personally. Or even disconnecting from self and from your own values and boundaries, right? We become enmeshed. So for an example, let's see. Someone that you care about comes to you and says they're sharing something. And instead of just listening to them, it may just be an alchemical process. We try and fix it. Oh, well, I can fix that for you. Oh, I can help with that. Oh, I can do that. It's interesting, isn't it? So it can show up in every day. And what we're doing as humans is we're remembering how to hold space for one another. We're remembering how to hold space for ourselves. So what if your trigger response is freezing? Now, so many of us do this. Do we realize how many binge watch Netflix? Spacing out. That's part of the freeze response. And it's interesting because as we're saying this, there may be a few of you, and please let me know in the comments if this is so, but there may be a few of us that we realize that we're actually kind of doing these in our day-to-day without realizing. So then is there a trigger active that we haven't seen because it's not big enough to be seen? Maybe it's a chronic one, a subtle one that's kind of been there for a while. But if we freeze, that can be it's the panic, it's the overwhelm, it's the where your mind goes blank. I used to get this in school, you know. I had in one of the classes I had, it was just one of the classes, and one of the subjects, and one of the teachers in the class, there was a trigger that was there, but it wasn't big enough initially. It wasn't big enough of a trigger for a big response, but that's what would happen. I would space out in the class. I would completely freeze. My mind would go blank. It'd be literally like a white screen. And that's a trigger response. That only came up in that one class. And so it's interesting, isn't it? Because we start to self-reflect, we start to reflect and observe, right? And even as young as being in school, or even now, whatever age we are, we're all still going through this, because what is happening is these core wounds that we have, that we started by speaking about. And we'll actually go into that just a little bit today, some of the core wounds. And it's, before we do go into that, it's core wounds aren't anyone's fault. We're going to want to blame. That happens a lot. I blame my parents. You know, that happens a lot, right? Because of my mother, because of my father, la, 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 la. And that's valid, right? We have to honor our feelings. We have to honor what is being said. But how do we move through it? Because the thing is that when we focus in that way, that is only going to propagate the dark nights. And that's not what we're here to do. We're here to birth the new dawn, right? We're here to birth a bright, beautiful new day. The sun will rise. And this will pass. It always does. But it depends on where our focus is. Now, if we can become self-aware enough to notice when there is a trigger response occurring, then we can do something about it. So I am just going to touch briefly into a couple of different core wounds, and then we're going to look at how we can work with the trigger responses. Okay, so some of the core wounds that may arise, you know, we may start to have different attachment styles: anxious, avoidant, right? Anxious attachment style is when kind of like, you know, if one of your friends or family member kind of backs away a little bit, we look for validation as to why they're doing that. We look for evidence, because that's what the human mind will do. The mind, the ego, is wanting to protect you, but in so doing, it tends to put you in this kind of spiral, this negative spiral. But if you had unpredictable or highly emotional parents, perhaps, or a family dynamic growing up, if that was your environment, you know, then likely you'll have this anxious attachment wound, where if we feel someone pull away, we'll ask questions and we'll kind of go, come back. This happens a lot in our relationships, and likely you'll have seen this happen over the past few months. And we also have avoidance, right? Avoidance attachment. And I'm just looking at these very briefly. This is just a very brief thing, just to kind of open the awareness a little bit as to where the triggers come from. So let's just go back a moment. Anxious, if we have the anxious attachment style, then we tend to kind of over communicate a little. We tend to kind of pester a little without meaning to, all in good intention, of course, all wanting to, you know, we need the validation, right? If you're the anxious attachment, if that's present within you, if that's wanting to heal, if it's still present, we need the validation from our partners, our friends, our family, our lovers, our anyone, colleagues even. But what if we have the opposite, which is the avoidant attachment? And this is usually where there's that fear of rejection, or fear of being seen as weak, you know. There was a really loud car that went by. Or fear of fear of being perceived as weak, often is the way when it's the avoidant attachment style. And so when things get a bit too much, you know, we tend to become hyper independent, right? We become hyper independent, or we start to ghost without realizing, without meaning to, because we just have to hone in and focus. But then those different attachment styles tend to have trigger responses connected to them. Now, what's the point in knowing that if we don't apply it to self? This is about becoming self-aware. And there are many incredible souls that are talking about these topics. Many incredible souls talking about these topics, which will allow deeper understanding. But what I would suggest is only dabble a little, because otherwise we get too drawn into the psyche, too drawn into the mental. And then it tends to feed the ego and tends to help us point at others rather than looking back at ourselves. So a better thing to do would be to learn how to consciously breathe. Breathing, something that we've done all of our lifetime, yet none of us really breathe consciously. Or if we do, it's not for long. I am just going to check quickly the comments here. Oh, this is so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Ascension Airwaves. Thank you. What a beautiful radio show you are. Thank you, Candace, for your comments. Yes, that's beautiful. Someone, Candace is just saying in the comments here, someone said recently to her that God has emotions but isn't emotional because God doesn't have triggers, and triggers come from wounds. Now that's a really interesting perspective. And I love that, because God doesn't have wounds, because he never separates, right? You know, he, she, that source energy never separates themselves. We separate ourselves as humans. We go on this journey of inner triangulation. I am going to link in a workshop that we did that focused on that. The one that I mentioned before, the free one, the healing from rejection, we mentioned that, but standing in your power, that workshop, that's where we focus on the inner triangulation. And that really helps understand, because it's that tears us apart and causes this fissure in our hearts. Because yes, the source energy is just, it's whole, it's becoming, it's all one, it's unconditional love. You know, there's no condemnation, there's no fear. We are all one, and all is in highest good, and there's no fear of abandonment or rejection or anything like that, or isolation. You know, that doesn't occur with source energy. There's no trigger there. Our triggers come from when we've separated ourselves, and ourselves here, we've separated ourselves and they're trying to come back home. So what happens is they propagate outside of ourselves, project outside of ourselves. We see those parts separate from ourselves and mirror back through others. And wow, what an honor it is if you're in a relationship where triggers arise. And especially if you are willing to self-observe and go in. So what can we do here if our trigger responses have been activated? That is a great question. Well, first we want to breathe. We're going to do breath work first, and then we're going to go into different ways that we can move that energy in a healthy way. Okay. So first, let's breathe. And I like to say, put one hand, bring it to your heart, and bring the other hand down to your belly. And the reason why we're bringing it into our belly is because I'm going to invite you here to just breathe in. And we're going to do this through the nose, in and out through the nose. Okay. When you breathe through the nose, it activates the nervous system a little bit in a good way. It calms it. And you also have all the filtration of the nasal cavity, which is very, very good. It warms the air, which is better as well in some ways. So we're going to do the breathing through the nose, right? In and out. But placing your hand upon your heart and your hand upon your belly, breathe in. And before you breathe out, breathe in again. Can you feel your body inflate? Can you feel that breath go deeper than before? Just hold it. Hold the breath within before you breathe out. And then breathe out, through the nose. So just to talk you through it first, because it's probably easier to do that. Ideally, we want to breathe into our belly. Ideally. Because when we breathe into our chest, that's not natural for the body. If you observe a baby breathes into its belly. Right? It remembers how to breathe. We want to breathe into our belly because that's where the oxygen wants to go. It wants to go that deep. When it goes that deep, the oxygen, it activates the parasympathetic nervous system. right? It calms us. So breathe into the belly. And so I say breathe twice. It's like a double breath, because normally we're just so used to breathing in just to here. But we want to take that breath all the way down. And when we do, we're going to hold it there for a few seconds. Let's say 8 seconds. And then breathe it out. Okay, so we're going to do that maybe just 3 times. And just observe your body. Just observe how it feels right now and observe how it is afterwards. So breathe in. Keep breathing in. And hold the breath. Breathe out through the nose. Slowly and gently. And hold the breath. Breathing in when you're ready. Holding the breath. Breathing out. Holding the breath. Breathing in once more. Holding the breath. Breathing out. How do you feel? How do you feel? What do you observe your body sharing with you? For the body communicates not in words, never in words. The body communicates in sensation. Do you feel expanded or constricted? Do you feel hot? Do you feel cold? Do you feel the energy move through you? The body communicates not in words, but in sensation. And the body wants to keep you safe. The body loves you so much. Your body is your temple. It is the chalice that is filled with your soul. And the body is always there for you. Yet we try too much to intellectualize what we're feeling. Now the body is where the trauma is held. It is held in the trauma. It is held in the body, the trauma. Core wounds and core beliefs are held in the body. They're not held in the mind. The mind analyzes and translates whatever is held in the being, in the body. So if we have emotions stored in our very being, which we all do, no one's exempt from that. Whenever it's time to access or release, you'll start to notice, because the triggers will rise up, you'll feel something in your body, right? And your mind will start to bring thoughts which validate the vibration of the emotion. Those thoughts, if they're not good feeling thoughts, they're not true. You get to choose different thoughts, but that is a practice. That is a practice. I was saying to a loved one today, it's like mental acrobatics sometimes, choosing which thought feels the best, because we create with those thoughts. But of course, while we're feeling a spiral of energy, either by being in a dark night or having an emotional response, then there are different things we can do physically. You can move your body, dance, go for a walk, run, ride your bike, have a hot shower. You can sing or hum. Start to activate vocal cords. Move the body. Let it out. You can take deep breaths. You can connect with nature. You can ask yourself, even if you have a moment to ask yourself, if you can be strong enough in the speed of the thoughts of the mind to go, am I really feeling this way? Or am I so used to feeling this way that I've jumped to that feeling without actually observing what's happening in reality. Right? You can pick up the phone and call a friend, someone who can hold the space, and someone who you trust too. And if, ask them, hey, I'm feeling all this stuff right now. It's really heavy. Do you have a moment for me to just vent? Or do you have a moment to hold the space? You can reach out. Where humans are social creatures. It's part of our human needs, whether we like that or not. If we like to deny that, then just be aware that's probably a core wound showing up. Reach out, write a letter and then burn it. Write your thoughts down. For me personally, I have a lot of conversations with myself, or with my team of light, which is essentially who I'm speaking to, because whenever I am feeling really triggered, which does occur, especially when I'm moving through a massive gateway and releasing something big, as we all do, we're all human. But a lot of the time, I will start to have the conversation out loud in my own space, in my own place, either in a mirror or just with my team. And through time and experience, I can have that conversation as my team as well, which perhaps not everyone is there at. So maybe writing stuff down, but it's quite interesting because I like the way that I personally work well is I need to hear what I'm saying so that I can observe it better. That's more efficient for me, because really anything that we're feeling is, it's illusion. It really is. That's not to dismiss what we're feeling. It's not. And that's not the intention of why we say that. You have to honor your feelings and validate them. You have to be to yourself what you wish others would be. Because it's in being that to yourself that you increase your capacity to love. When you increase your capacity to love, you increase your capacity to heal, because your heart becomes more open, more whole within itself. And then that starts to reflect in your world around you. Right? We can also do some clearing of the kidneys. The kidneys hold fear. A lot of the dark nights right now and a lot of things coming up, they're based in fear, and the kidneys is usually where the emotion of fear is held, right? So if you are working with, you can choose a left kidney or right kidney, and what you would do is with your hand, you would pull your skin down, right? Pull your skin down, just where the ribs are here, pull the skin down. Put your other hand here on the clavicle and the trap. Turn your head to face that kidney and stretch. Right? This is stretching the kidney space. Pulling that skin down where your kidney is, pulling the skin down. Breathing in and out 3 times there. You could do the other side too. So putting your hand on the rib cage, kind of like in line with the breast or the chest. And pulling that skin down once again. Putting the hand on the clavicle and on the trap. Looking over to the kidney side that you're working on. And stretch. Breathing in and out. Working with the kidneys. In Qigong, they do this where they tap the back of the kidneys. Just anything that engages the kidneys, that puts twist or a stretch in there, that focuses the intention, ho'oponoponoing into that space with the intention that your kidney receives that. It's interesting because we rarely look at the body when we're looking at healing, right? We rarely look at that. We so often look at the metaphysical or the spiritual or the quantum, and we forget that we are the embodied quantum. We forget that sometimes. It's all stored here. Resentment, anger, and liver, right? So underneath your ribs here on the right hand side, pushing in and twisting your hand, right? Hand up here again. Twisting your hand and pushing into your liver, just right under here. Breathing deeply. I release anger now. I release resentment now. I welcome in love. I welcome in wholeness. I welcome in peace. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. These are practices that I borrowed from a channel on YouTube and Instagram called The Human Garage. And they are incredible at the bodily, the myofascial releases for emotions and things like that. So I highly recommend checking them out. But they have lots of golden nuggets like that to release the things in the body. And why is that important for this particular workshop? Without the challenges that we face, we wouldn't be able to clear and have the satisfaction of feeling that alignment. If we don't know one side of the polarity, if we don't know one side of the spectrum, we don't know the other. For everyone here that is watching, we're wanting to embody this bliss, we're wanting to embody this joy. It really is something that is very accessible, but you got to dance, you got to set the space up. So how do you start your day? How do you end your day? How do you segment your day? I'm really specific about how I start my day, especially because my routine lacked a little bit. And what happened when my routine lacked, I felt all this energy wanting to spiral, and it didn't need to, right? When our routine drops, when our spiritual discipline drops, we have a direct noticing response. So how do you start your day? As soon as I wake up, I lay there in bed and I connect with my body. I let my body gently awaken. I stay in bed and I let my body gently awaken, my energies gently return. And as I'm doing that, I'm thanking my body for holding me. I'm thanking my body for waking up and being here and supporting me. I thank my team and I call in the Mother, Father, God I am, the Mother, Father, Pachamama, Father Earth as well. I call in the angelics, the star beings. I welcome them all in. I welcome the walking ones, the shining ones. I welcome the elementals and the fae, the elements, the energies that are here, the benevolent beings. I welcome my higher self and all versions of me through all time, space, places, and dimensions. I can't get my words out today. I welcome my guardian angel, my dream guide. I start my day that way. I end my day that way. I thank the sun, the moon, the stars. I start my day that way. I end my day that way. As soon as I get out of bed, I move my body. I move my body. I awaken my body. I awaken my kundalini. I awaken my throat. I sing. I do something to awaken pelvis and throat. And I drink lots of water. I have a drink ready that is imbued with light, and I hold it to my heart. And this might seem over the top, but these are just very simple things that for me have impact. For everything that we do is a conscious reflection. Everything that we offer, create, everything that the world is created by our intention. So fill it with the love that you are. But when we're going through those challenges, yes, it can be hard. And you've received some tools and tricks that you just have to have the courage to start. The courage to start, and then when you're feeling good, do the things that anchor in that light. The gratitude, the appreciation, the connecting with the body, the singing, the movement, the good nutrition. Food and liquids is living consciousness. What you put into your body is living consciousness. Just be aware of how whatever it is feels. These are simple things to kind of wrap up this. I haven't got any dogs. No, Jackie, I do not have any dogs right now. I wish I did. If I had a dog, the first thing I'd be doing is I'd be letting them out to go pee. When I used to be a guardian of a dog, that's yeah, if you've got dogs, you've got kids, it might have to be a little bit different. But you can still do that as you're waking up and getting out of bed and going to the loo. You can be walking to the loo going, welcome team, thank you body, thank you pelvis, as you release. But yeah, everything that you do, the more that we can bring, just for a second or two, just for a second or two, if you can bring a conscious awareness and a connection of light to those things that are mundane that we seem to do all through the day. When you make yourself a drink, when you go for a wee, you know, when you're making yourself food, when you see your dog or your animal or your child or your partner, or if you don't have any of those, then when you see your home, I greet my house when I wake up. I'm like, hi, house. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful home you are. Thank you so much. Every morning I do that. Every night I do that. It might seem excessive, but it makes a difference. And I just want to close by saying this. If you're watching this and if you have been feeling like you're going through the darkest of nights, a bright dawn is right there through that night. And you are worth seeing that sunrise. You are worth it, and you might have forgotten. You might have forgotten, and that's okay. Because we're here to remind you. That's what we're here to do for one another as humans on this planet. We remind each other of the light which we are, of the love which we are, of who we truly are. We remind each other when we've forgotten in ourselves, because that is also you reflecting back to you through another, a different version of you coming back through another. If you have enjoyed this workshop, thank you so much for being here. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope it's brought some inspiration and just interesting ponderings and nice techniques. I am doing a gorgeous collaboration with Jackie White on the 26th of October. It's going to be Mother Mary's Blue Rose of Grace. That is going to be such a nourishing, oh my gosh, so nourishing, so healing, really beautiful workshop. Please do jump on board with that if it calls to you. The link is in the description box of this video. I also have 3 initiatory eclipse workshops coming up. Friday the 13th, a lunar invitation for sacred initiation with Isis. That's on Friday the 13th. That's the night before the solar eclipse. On the 28th of October, we've got a workshop with Ra, sun god Ra. And that is a solar invitation for sacred initiation. So the first one with Isis is all about the sacred feminine codes and healing those, bringing alignments and initiation to those sacred feminine parts of our being. And the 28th is where we do the same with Ra for the divine masculine. And then on the 5th of November, remember the 5th of November, because we're going to be with Horus. We're going to be with Horus at 5 p.m. All of them available on replay as well. They are also in the description box for you to browse. But it's a very exciting time. There is so much coming through here, so much support for you. If that Ho'oponopono post tickled your fancy, then do check out Jackie's website too. Link is already in the box. And I will see some of you. I will see some of you in November when my next new course starts. And I will leave that there. I won't tell you much more about it other than it's about temple wisdom and the mystery school scarlet codes. But thank you all for being here right now. Thank you for your engagement, your love. Thank you for sharing this. Share this far and wide. If you think that this will help someone, share it. Please do. This is here to assist and help you. And I will pin the other free workshops in the end screens so that you can tune into those as well, because they'll probably help too. So much love to each one of you. Remember, you are living love. You are source embodied. You are the sun which rises in the morning. You are all those things.